Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing another comic book review. Today we're looking at Heavy Metal, book 1. This is the new relaunch of the magazine. It's been really interesting to see the return of magazine style content. I mean, we started with Savage Conan, then we got Penthouse Comics, although that died with the distribution collapse with Diamond a few months ago. And then we got Heavy Metal, and Heavy Metal actually launched at the same time as Metal Hurlant was also relaunched, and I think Metal Hurlant is published in Europe, but you can get it here in the States. It's a bit different from this, but it's the same idea, right? And I think Metal Hurlant you can only buy directly from Europe Comics or something. It's a weird way to get it, but you can buy it. It's kind of interesting that we did get the return of magazines in some shape or fashion, right? But that's not really all that important. So here we have Heavy Metal, the greatest illustrated magazine of all time, apparently. This is the cover A. This is number 1, Legacy 321, because 320 was the last book that released in this series in the 2019-ish kind of days, if I remember correctly. This was a $15 magazine. It's very nice and thick. It's about 200 pages. And it's really worth it, I think. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So this is a Grimaldi character. That's Tarna right there. And there's a few other references here to other stuff that you might like. The magazine is properly square bound. It has a nice back to it as well, with little portions of the story there that you can see. And it has a bunch of people that are involved here. So these are all the artists and writers and stuff that were involved, or at least as many as they can fit. I don't think it's all of them. And it's pretty interesting. This was honestly an amazing experience. I've never collected Heavy Metal. I know about it. I knew about it. I've seen that the movie exists. I never watched it. But reading this, I was expecting something kind of middling, but kind of enjoyable. Something that was really well known because it was off the beaten path, right? Like, it was special because it was the only magazine doing stuff like this. And at this point, it's not. There's been other magazines and other things that have been similar to it, but reading through this was a really interesting experience because I really thought that it was amazing. It was really enjoyable. Not every story was my favorite, of course, but broadly speaking, it was pretty good. So we open up with this editorial page here. Welcome to the new Heavy Metal, just kind of explaining the return of the series and stuff like that. Then you get your contents page here. We have the editorial, then you have a dossier, which is information about some of the stuff that's been happening in science fiction land and actually in the real world in terms of how science fiction has affected real life technology, which is pretty cool. Then you have an explanation about alien disclosure, which is the theme for the artwork in this magazine. And then you have all of the creators there. So you have Bug by Enki Bilal. Then you have a bit of heavy history. You have The Mercenary, Cold Dead War, June 2050, Burton and Sib, tribute to Greg Hildebrandt, Evil Sex Bitch, Tarna, Book 1, or Part 1, Floyd the Giant Killer, that's literally just one page. You have Lester, The Old Feeling, that's by Fernando Danino. If you're a fan of Conan, he's doing the artwork for the current Conan series, and you would probably really enjoy this story as well if you like Sinners and you liked Conan, which is a weird kind of crossover, but it's good. I recommend it. They Dug Too Deep by Dwayne Harris, Austin Grimaldi. That's this character right here. He's kind of like a Daredevil character. Not Daredevil, a comic book character. I mean Daredevil as in like he does stunts, right? Then you have Gladiatrix, Millstone by Elias Kiriasis. That's a very famous illustrator. You'll recognize him for his artwork. The Devil's Teeth, The Legends of Tarna. That's the one thing I didn't like. There was 2 different Tarna stories. And yeah, they're very different. You can tell that they're not the same. But I don't necessarily like the fact that there's 2 of them because it muddies the waters a little bit, even if you can tell that they're different, right? You have Sixella, Kecksburg UFO. That was pretty fun. It was a pretty interesting story. I don't think it's based on real life, although it might be. I feel like I've heard that story before since I'm a big fan of UFO stuff. We have Cobot. We have Transcend Destiny. That's by Tim Vigil, which is really cool. He did Faust. And the artwork here is pretty awesome. Then we have Valentina, All-American, which is a really interesting story. And then we have some strips at the end and then a cover gallery at the back. So the dossier here is pretty interesting, like I said. You get a lot of information about different things, right? Like VR before it was cool, smart cars, the flip phone, like all of this stuff that was first seen in science fiction that then became real, right? And then in this part here, we talk about different kind of interesting things, right? This was a really interesting article there where you talk about this art exhibit where it's all these robots that are like made to be hot, which is pretty cool. And then you have the first story here after the alien disclosure bit. So the idea here is that alien disclosure is the prompt, and then the artists that were chosen get to draw whatever they want based on their interpretation of it, which leads to some kind of odd situations because most of the time, the art that they draw isn't about alien disclosure, it's about something else. It almost looks like it's more about robots than it is about aliens. But, you know, there's some explanations here about what they're trying to do there. But then we have Bug. This is a pretty interesting story. It's not really my favorite. I think the pacing's kind of bad, but the artwork is pretty interesting. I don't necessarily love the way a lot of bande dessinée look, and Enki Bilal's style is very similar to that. But it was pretty interesting overall, even if it's not necessarily my favorite, because I think the pacing was kind of odd, like I said. Here's a second alien disclosure. This one kind of matches. This one kind of makes sense, where it's like famous people or people that are important in some way are seeing aliens show up. That makes sense, right? Then we have this heavy metal kind of history bit where we talk about the reality of the series and where it came from and why. And it's pretty cool. I liked it. I also really enjoyed all the covers that they showed. Then you have Mercenary. This was probably one of the more interesting stories for me personally. I just thought that the concept was cool. Like this idea of this guy in a fantasy world showing up to an island. He sees these beautiful women and they're all kind of like fairies. And then he gets sent to the other side of the island and he deals with these ant-men who are confused by him. They think that he's one of them because he's also seemingly wearing armor. But the thing is that he can take his off and the Ant-Man can't, right? And so that's where we see the character lose, right? It's pretty cool. I liked it. And then he gets saved by the mermaids, by the fairies, and he goes off into a different world, right? This was also a pretty good alien disclosure painting, in my opinion. It makes sense. Then we have this one, Cold Dead War. This was pretty odd. I didn't really get the point of it. Like, I think I just didn't read it correctly, and then when I tried going back to it, I just wasn't interested. Pretty cool artwork, but I don't necessarily like the actual story. I just didn't get it. But this is really cool. I really like this splash page there. And we have June 2050. This is pretty cool, just single page story. I hope that there's more of this. And then we have Bert and Sib. This is pretty funny. So these guys run this like spaceship and they crash land on this planet, which I think is supposed to be Earth, but they literally just crash land on like Transylvania. And as they go in, the characters that are aliens that look like monsters meet the actual universal monsters, and they're like, oh crap, these guys are scary, and they run away. And it's pretty funny. I thought it was very comedic in a way that I enjoyed. So that was fun. We have this tribute to Greg Hildebrandt. I think he died as this was being developed, and so that's why they made this. And it was a really good article. I actually really liked it, and I love the showcase of his artwork there. So I appreciate that. I think it was really well done. These characters are in the cover if you didn't catch that. Really good article. I really liked it. You know, rest in peace, Hildebrandt. Here's another artist interpretation. This one I think is supposed to be what we saw at the beginning and on page 8, but I don't really like it. This doesn't really make sense to me. Like, this isn't disclosure. This is just like a weird alien cyborg lady that happens to have a big ass. Like, that doesn't really work for me. I didn't think that this was a good representation of the prompt. Then we have Evil Sex Bitch. Pretty fun. I really like the style here. The story is kind of boring, to be honest with you, but the vibe of it is really, really good. I love it a lot. This final page here is awesome. It looks very sword and sorcery, and I love it. Then we have Tarna. This is the first story. This one's pretty cute. At least that's what it feels like to me. Like, the style is kind of cute. I like it. But the censorship there is kind of silly. It's kind of odd. It's just very weird. But she gets her outfit on, and then she's being hunted by these human characters that have been devolved in the kind of like Robert E. Howard kind of sense. And like, it's not a very cute story. It's actually pretty serious. Like, Tarna has to kill these humans that are hunting her. But just the style of it, the artwork, just kind of feels cute to me, if that makes sense. I don't know. And she's battling these people who are trying to eat her. And she manages to beat them because, of course, she does. It's the main character, right? She's not going to lose, per se. Especially because her friend, this bird thing, shows up and she flies off into the sunset. Then we have this look back at the madness. This one is kind of a profile of some of the important creators that kind of helped shape the magazine. So this one's about Corbin, who did Den. And then we have the single page story here that's pretty funny. It's kind of ironic. And then this is Lester, That Old Feeling by Fernando de Nino. This is my favorite story in the magazine. This is about an old man who is kind of like a jazz player or some sort of like a blues man or something like that. And he's just kind of going through life and he's remembering his youth, as it were. And it turns out that he was a robot and that he was part of this family. And they really appreciated him because he was able to help them. And he was also someone that brought them joy through the use of his music, right? And for whatever reason, he was stolen from them. He was taken. And now he has to play for these people. But he remembers in this kind of last moment that his people, that the people that loved him and cared for him were taken from him. And so in his last moment, he does this really great performance, and then he blows himself up because he's tired of remembering this reality, right? And it's really good. I really thought it was an amazing story. I think Fernando de Nino is amazing. He did a great job there. Then we have this one, which is They Dug Too Deep. It's these very Tolkien-esque dwarves that are waiting for an attack, and it turns out that the attack was normal miners. So I thought that was cool. I liked it. And then we have the Austin Grimaldi. The artwork here is fun. The style of the story is good. The artwork is great. But I didn't really care about the story too much. It's just a guy who has a daughter, and he's a cool, like, daredevil. And they're running away from something. And it was kind of unclear what they were running away from, at least in my opinion. I guess it was explained, but at this point, I don't remember. It's been months since I read it, right? So it's not that good. At least I don't remember it being that good, but I love the art style. I think it's fun. Then we have this Rumble. This is kind of like a fake ad. I love how it looks, though. It's pretty fun. And Alien Disclosure. Again, this one doesn't really seem to be about disclosing aliens. This is like the guy just wanted to draw a hot lady and a dragon, and so that's what they did. And they made it kind of work, right? But, I mean, it looks really good. It's a really beautiful art piece. It just doesn't match the point of the prompt, if that makes sense. Then we have the Trials of Tanine, sorry. This is pretty cool. This is a gladiator woman. Really awesome stuff here. I love the artwork. She fights this really cool dragon monster thing and a bunch of people, and it just looks disgustingly gory, but also really fun and really cool. But there's not much going on there. I mean, she goes through a few different battles, and then she has to battle a bigger, more evil guy, right? And then we have the Bleeding Coast, or Millstone. And this is a really good story. I really liked it. It deals with this guy who doesn't really know what's going on. He awakens on this shore, and then he has to battle a bunch of monsters and creatures and things. And it's really cool. As he's going through this, he realizes that he's attached to this grindstone, this millstone, and he can't remove it from himself. And as he's going through the journey, he finds this child that's kind of supposed to help him or something, and they grow together. It's kind of like a lone wolf and cub kind of situation, right? And I think at this point, yeah, we come back to the past that started his journey, right? He was thrown off a cliff. The millstone was used as a way to try to kill him, and he doesn't die, right? And this character, who is the one that threw him off the cliff, realizes that this guy is not dead. And so they're going to start hunting him, right? And this is when the character decides to leave the child behind, but the child doesn't let him. And then he finds this house, and he's very terrified of it. And I'm not really sure why, but this was a great story. I really liked it. But my favorite was definitely Lester. Here's another Alien Disclosure one. This one kind of works. I mean, it's not necessarily the best interpretation in my opinion, but it works nicely. I liked it. Then we have The Devil's Teeth. This is a prose story with some interesting artwork there. And we have another look at back at the madness. It's pretty fun and not really too exciting, but I like the artwork. And then we have the Tarna book again. This one is by Matt and Sean Philbank and has art by Joseph Michael Linzer. And this is a story of this little alien guy who's remembering his wife. Then Tarna shows up and she's attacked by these, like, I don't know what to call them, like ogre men. And the little guy is kind of around. And so they make fun of him and he is really sad about this. And then Tarna just kind of uses them making fun of him, this distraction that they cause to themselves, as a way to beat them. And then she thanks the little guy for his help and she moves on. And it's pretty funny. It's really good artwork. I don't necessarily think that this story is all that good. And the thing is that it muddies the waters a little bit by having two different Tarna stories that are happening, you know, at the same time, basically, or maybe not, but kind of like, it just makes it harder to kind of deal with the illusion of this character that's just like constantly going in adventures, right? So I didn't necessarily like it. And this is Sixtella. This apparently is a very famous European character. I don't know too much about her, but I love this art style. I like the colors a lot, and I think it's cool. This one is called The Last Roots. I don't really remember what's happening here. I think she just goes down into the depths and to try to get some stuff out of there. And as she goes, she realizes that she can't handle it by herself. And this kind of causes her some problems going forward. But I don't really remember. I just really love the vibe of it a lot. But looks really good. Don't really remember what the story is about too much, to be honest with you. I guess it didn't really impress me that much, and that's why I don't remember it. But I do like how it looks a lot. All right. Just kind of showing you through a flip through there. And then we have the Kensberg story. And again, it's not that great. I don't really like the art style a lot, but I do like that there is this interest in UFO lore through this magazine. So I like it. I appreciate the attempt. I just don't necessarily think this story is that great. But, you know, it works. You know, you have a crash. You have some people realizing it. You have some government agents showing up and denying that it happened. And then you have something actually get out, right? And then this is another story. I can't remember what it is. Let's see. I think this is Cobot. Really cool style. Not really sure what the story was about, to be honest with you. But that ending is really cool. I like it a lot. They have Transcendentity, or Transcendestiny, sorry. This is by Tim Vigil, like I said. Really lovely art style. Lovely is not the right word. Very cool, I guess. But it looks great. So this character is, kind of coming out of the earth. He finds a moment of realization as he's doing this. And then from there, he goes into this water and is reborn and reshaped into, what you would consider like a hot man there at the end. And it looks really cool. And I guess this is supposed to be some sort of a artistic representation of like rebirth or some sense, like rebirth in the I was this way once and now I'm this other way now, right? So really cool. Not necessarily sure it was like super great, but I really like the art style at least, right? And then we have Valentina. This is a pretty basic story. It's not really sci-fi or fantasy, to be honest with you. It's just Valentina remembering this man that she was with at one point and kind of missing him, I guess, if I remember correctly. And as she's doing this, she's kind of just going through life and kind of finding herself and realizing that, she misses this man. And then there's this moment here where she kind of goes on this weird, like, mental, imagination kind of thing. And then she connects with a man again, and she kind of goes through the whole system and the whole story again, right? And that's basically it. I mean, I don't really remember exactly all of the details, but that's pretty good. And then again, she has this weird dream of this like tentacle porn stuff, which is really cool. And then she wakes up. And it just goes back in circles again. Really cool. Art style, love it. I think it's really nice. But the story was kind of confusing, to be honest with you. And then we have the All-American. This is a mecha story. There's these two characters that are fighting. The American one, of course, is the shiny one with the star. And then the red one is Russia, I think. And then, of course, the American wins. And as they get out, it turns out that the manga pilot was actually a black woman. And in the time period that this happened in, apparently that was bad. And she has to deal with segregation, and yet she's also America's hero. And this is pretty cool. I like that idea a lot. Maybe it's a little bit too political for most people's taste, but I liked it. Now, this feels like a reference to that one Men in Black character. I don't really like it too much, but the art style's cool. Then you have another fake ad, and then one last look back at the madness. This is called Mayhem. Really cool artwork here. I think this is supposed to be about Simon Beasley. And then you have the strips. And the strips are not that good in my opinion. They're, take it or leave it. I like that they have them. I don't necessarily think that they're really all that valuable to me personally. And then you have the cover gallery. And the cover gallery is really great. I really like it. I would have loved to buy this one, but I thought that I should just get the basic cover because I just prefer having an easier choice. If I were to start picking up random variants, I would want to pick up more of them, and I'd rather just not have to do that because I'd rather not have to deal with like collector needs like that, or collector syndrome, or whatever you want to call it, where now that I have one of them, I might as well just get all of them. So I try to avoid buying variant covers when I can. And then we have another little bit of look back at the madness here. This is about Gruna mostly, and the sexuality of the magazine. And there's some cool ads here for some junk that you can buy if you want. And that's basically it. Really good magazine. I really recommend it. I think that, it's hit or miss in terms of story, but that the quality is there in some way. Whether it's the artwork, whether it's the storytelling, whether it's just the editorial, like the quality will be there in some shape or form. It's just about how it lands for you personally based on your taste, right? So recommend you guys pick this up. The second issue is going to come out next week. As of when I'm recording this, I hope that I get this out before it does come out, and hopefully I'll get the next one reviewed in a much better time frame, because this has basically been 2 months since I read this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys are going to pick up the next one down below. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys next time.